our Dr. Sav's ex-student from Triple IT Pune, and he was the one who introduced him to me and told that he has cracked GSOC. So firstly, I would like to congratulate you, Rohan. Like GSOC is something that we all hear, and it's like very far, like star to crack GSOC, a big thing. So today we would like to hear how you cracked GSOC and about your journey, how you practice and everything, and how you found time from your regular coursework to practice for this and contribute in open source, and how you prepared for it and some tips for us. So he's also product in the net project. So now over to Rohan.
Sure. Thanks, Akriti. I've actually prepared a presentation, so I can share my screen.
Yeah, sure, you can share yours.
Yeah, yeah. I'll start.
Chandan and stuff.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks. Screen visible?
Yeah.
Great. So, hey everyone. Today I'll tell you a secret, which will help you not only in your first year, but even if you're in your even if you're in your final year, you're a pass out, you're an alumni. So this secret will take you new heights. Like it'll boost the opportunities you get, right? So this will be like I have planned my talk or my presentation to be very interactive. So you can answer in the chat or even unmute your mic. So since we have a couple of people, you can unmute your mic and respond to whatever you want. So let's just start. So before that, I'll just want to put up a question. What is open source? Anyone? And Googling is allowed. Textbook answers are fine with me. Anyone, you can unmute your mic or even on the chat, you can respond. What do you think open source is? Open source code, open source software. You might have heard anytime.
Open source is basically any kind of organization that has put up its code to be used by anyone, anywhere, for any kind of purpose. They can modify the code however they like and use it to to suit their needs at any point.
Great, great. Anyone else? Like there are a multitude of definitions of open source. Anyone else wants to try? Anyone? No? Cool, cool. So I'll say that that definition is like almost perfect. What you said, and like a funny thing is, I asked one of my juniors this question: what is open source? He told me, sir, open source is source which is open. So at first I laughed at him, but then I told him, you're right. That is what it is. When you speak of it in one sentence, it is source which is open. So open source means something which is free. Free as in not that doesn't mean you don't have to pay for it. There are some things that might be paid, like there are community versions and enterprise versions of things. But in the true sense, open source means the code is available for everyone to use. You can take that code and build a college project out of it. You can modify it. You can even sell the code, and no one's gonna sue you or have any legal cases against you, right? So that is open source. Now, what if I tell you that at some point in your life, everyone has used open source, even though you might not have contributed to it, but at some point in your life, you have used it. So there might be people among us who might be hearing these words together for the first time, right? Open and source. So what if I tell you that even the phone in your pocket, your Android phone, it's open source. If you go ahead and check out you'll get open source code for Android, or even Mozilla Firefox, which you used to download Wonder Woman 1984, even that's open source. Or with the VLC player you used to watch that movie, even that's open source. So that is how much open source is spread throughout. So that's shocking, right? So with this, let me introduce myself. I'm Rohan Lekhwani. Some of you might know me from before. For those of you who don't, I finished college at IIIT Pune about 2 weeks back and started at Gojek as a software engineer one. I started as a project intern at CDAC in my first year. Then I went on to be a research intern at DRDO Delhi. Then I was a product intern last year at Gojek. So this year I started contributing to open source with Rocket Chat, and they also selected me as a Google Summer of Code student. And I'm parallel with a full-time job, software engineer one job, which I started 2 weeks back. So I call this my pyramid of exploration. I've also put a copyright at the top right, but it's just for fun. You can use it anywhere you want. So let's come on to GSOC, right? What is Google Summer of Code? What is GSOC? So you hear even Akriti in the intro was mentioning everyone is hearing about GSOC. What do you mean? Like, why are people talking about it? What does it mean to be a Google Summer of Code student? Right. So Google Summer of Code is basically a global open source program. It lasts about 10 weeks. So you get mentors, you get organizations, and you select a project out of one of those organizations, and along with a mentor, you spend your summer contributing to that. Right. And this is all just with one laptop and internet connection. So from just your room, you can code and communicate with someone who's sitting on the other side of the world, right? And maybe together you both can change the world, right? So that is Google Summer of Code. And Google Summer of Code is really competitive in that not only students compete among themselves to get in, but even organizations like big organizations, for example, Mozilla Firefox or Python Software Foundation, like the guys who maintain Python, what you use. Even these kinds of guys compete to be an organization within Google Summer of Code. So the process is like really competitive. And if you might ask, like, who is GSOC for exactly, right? So GSOC is for everyone. You don't even need a computer science degree, even if you are from other branches like electronics, mechanical, maybe even petrochemical. You can go ahead for GSOC. All you need is persistence to be consistent, right? Like for example, if you like web development, there is Mozilla or there is Rocket Chat, which I am part of. If you like, let's say space exploration, so there are organizations which research on black holes, quasars, and pulsars. So you can even go ahead with them. Then there is there is an organization which also deals in genes and drug interaction. If you're more towards the biology side, you can go towards that. Or if you're interested in data science, so data science is a fad that's going around lately. I want to be a data scientist. So there are orgs which predict how much coronavirus would spread in the next 1 month. So you can join them as well, and you might even get a research paper out of it. So that is how open source is and Google Summer of Code is. So at GSOC, they try to cover every spectrum of computer science. So you have web development, Android development, space exploration, biomedical, cloud computing, data warehousing. Everything you can imagine that you could do with your code is there in Google Summer of Code, right? So these are some stats from Google Summer of Code. So till now, 38 million lines have been contributed to GSOC by 16,000 students, right? And those are from 111 countries. So that is about half of the world, right? And it was started 16 years ago by Google co-founders, Sergey Brin, Larry Page. And since then it has continued, like it has become a really established program, one of the best programs you could say for open source, right? So we saw like what is GSOC, but why should you do it? What is your incentive to do it? So through my experience of 4 years of college, I've learned this very important thing to ask why do you want to do something before you start something, right? Why should you dedicate your time and energy to something? So before you start doing something, you should always try to ask yourself that question: why do I want to do that in the first place, right? So why should you do GSOC? What is the need to do GSOC? Why are people talking about it, and what benefits does it give you, right? So I have a simple a four letter formula. I call it 3M 1R. So 3M 1R is 3M's are mentorship, material, and money, and the 1R is referral. So this is the why that you should be aiming GSOC for, right? It is 3M 1R. And apart from this, or in addition to this, you also get some bragging rights. So everyone knows Google in the tech industry, and people are just willing to kill each other to get Google on the resume. So with GSOC you get this as well, right? So anywhere you go, you say I am a GSOC student. So everyone knows GSOC in the world because it's a global program, and they view at you with a greater likelihood to give you an opportunity, right? So this is what 3M 1R is. So let's take a look at it in further. So the first is mentorship. So when you get into GSOC, you're assigned a mentor, and this mentor is not only an expert in a field, but in some cases you might even get a mentor who created that field. So you get a chance to learn from such learned people that you'll be truly amazed at what you can learn in those 10 weeks of GSOC, right? And these are the people who have actually built the stuff, like people who are regularly contributing to something, and the thing they're contributing to has millions of users. So as a student, this is a great platform. What you are writing is being used by millions of users around the world. So that is a great opportunity in itself. So the second thing what mentorship brings is community support. So for example, you start contributing to an org, you not only get to interact with your mentor, but everyone else who is contributing to that org. So for example, my org has about 1500 contributors from around the world. So I know people from a lot of countries. I know someone from Canada, I know someone from US who's contributing, and you regularly get to interact with them. So you're not only stuck what's happening in India, but you also get to know what's happening around the world, right? So so one of use case is that one of my acquaintances who got selected into Mozilla Firefox as a GSOC student. So he told me that the internal team was like discussing a feature which was to be rolled out in the next Mozilla Firefox version, right? So no one in the world knew that, but only these internal guys know that feature first. So you get to be one of those guys who gets to know that feature first before anyone else does in the world, right? So that thing is like really cool. So speaking of my mentor is from Credit Suisse Singapore. So he's like a really senior guy. He's like a senior domain architect at Credit Suisse in Singapore. So I get to learn a lot from him. Like despite contributing to a lot of open source, I still get to learn from him every time we talk. So those are the level of mentors that you get through GSOC, right? Like a level apart. You wouldn't get that knowledge, that kind of knowledge from all at in college or maybe even your local meetups. These are the guys who are creating stuff. So the next M in 3M1R is material. So I know a lot of like this is something that excites people a lot, including myself. So you can see on your right, this is what an org called Jenkins offers. So you get T-shirts, you get mugs, you get stickers. You might even get a laptop to code for the duration, and you get loads of other stuff. So that is one benefit. Like speaking of me, I'm wearing this T-shirt from Rocket Chat. Even I got this. So that is something cool. That is something orgs do to incentivize students, and this is what keeps the students going and contribute well to that org. That kind of serves like an incentive to students. So that is what material does, and material is not only in the form of T-shirts and stuff. So people might even get job offers or internship offers from these orgs. So once you've done with your GSOC, those orgs might reach out to you and say, hey, why don't you continue as a full-time student with us or a full-time employee with us, right? Or you can come ahead with with us as an intern. So before this, Google was paying you, let us pay you, and you can continue the work for the whole year. So with your college, you can also do this. So and at the end of the college or before even your companies come to your college for placements, you are already placed, right? You have an offer in hand. So that is the kind of material you get. That is the second M. The third M is money. So I know a lot of people might jump out of your chair by money, right? So you get $1,500. That translates in rupees to about 1,11,000. and that is just for 10 weeks, right? 10 weeks is just about 2 months. So for just 2 months, you get 1,11,000, and you can work anywhere from anywhere. You can work at your home, and you can work at any time you want, right? You just have to contribute around 4 hours every day, 3 to 4 hours every day. Okay, that's almost like half of what you give to college. So I'm not saying don't do college, but that's half of what you do in college. So in just 4 hours, and that is also Monday to Friday, off on Saturday, Sunday. So easy money to get, right? So that is another benefit what you get. That is a why you should do GSOC for, right? You can just go out and earn, right? So that is the third M which you get, which is money. And moving on to the 1 hour. So the 1 hour is reference, right? So reference is something which, as a student, is more important than money, right? So money, you will get a one-time money in the form of, like, you do 10 weeks and you get a one-time payment. But if you get a referral, you get a constant source of income, right? You get a job basically. You get a constant source of income. So a lot of people get referred as well. So once you're into GSOC, almost the whole world, the recruiters know that this guy is, capable. He will be able to handle situations within our company as well. So that is, they'll refer you easily, and you'll be ahead of the pack, basically, right? You'll be ahead of the crowd by getting a referral. So speaking of me, after I got into GSOC, I got job offers from Razorpay, and then I got an offer from Rocket Chat. My mentor, who is from Credit Suisse Singapore, also offered me a position in Singapore itself. Then I also got contacted by a few startups after I got into GSOC. But in the end, I decided to go ahead with Gojek, where I had interned last year. So that is one benefit. You'll get a lot of referrals through GSOC. That is the 1 hour, right? So that was 3M 1 hour, and why you should get into GSOC. But now, how do you get into GSOC, right? We've discussed what GSOC is and why you should get into GSOC. But how do you do it, right? What's the actual process that you should follow to get into GSOC? So GSOC is like, if like the first thing is like, of course, it's like a CodeChef campus chapter. So obviously, many of you should ideally have GitHub accounts. But in case you don't, just go ahead. For those of you who don't know GitHub, what GitHub is, so it's like a cloud-hosted project where you can put your projects, and other people can read and contribute to your code, right? And there's this new feature GitHub has added called GitHub Sponsors. So you can even get paid if your project is cool, right? Someone will come and sponsor your project. So if you haven't made a GitHub account, you should make a GitHub account, and you'll get a GitHub link. Like, for example, my GitHub profile link is github.com/Ronlek, RONLEK. So it is said that GitHub is like the new resume. So in olden times, and even people who don't know about this, they believe like the paper resume is your resume. So whenever you go to a company, whenever you sit for placements, the paper resume is what recruiters will look at, right? But the next time you go sit for a company, notice if the recruiter has a laptop, they'll be opening your GitHub. So GitHub is the new resume. Try to maintain GitHub like your resume. Build projects, do open source, and whatever you're building, don't keep it on your computer, put it on GitHub and your resume. So basically, they both get linked. And if someone was to, like, for example, if you go to my GitHub profile, you see all my projects that I've done, including my open source contribution. So that kind of serves like a resume, right? So first thing to get into GSOC is to have a GitHub profile. That is step 0. The next step is we can go through the flow of how GSOC goes around, right? So first is the pre-GSOC stage. So organizations get announced around Feb, March. Feb and March organizations get announced, but students start working way before that. So some of the students start working around October or December. So I'll say November to December is the ideal time to start contributing and working with your organization. So once the organizations are announced, you send in a proposal, students apply, and then you get selected. So that's like an overview, a basic of how GSOC proceeds, right? And once you're into GSOC, so these are the phases. One is the community bonding period. So in case of community bonding period, like Google gives you this 3 weeks to bond with your community, during which you plan out your project with your mentors, you interact with community, you get in touch with other students who would have gotten selected into your org, you check out what the org is doing, what are their business perspectives, right? And then start the coding phase one and evaluations one. So during coding phase one, all you do is just code, right? From morning to night, you'll just code. And you have your mentor in you constant touch. So even where you're facing difficulties, your mentor will definitely help you out. And then you perform evaluations. So there are two evaluations. One is where you evaluate your mentor, and in return, he will also evaluate you. So the final decision is like in his hands, whether to pass you or not. So if you're passed, then you get around 45% of your payment, like 45% of $1,500, directly get into your bank account. Then you have the coding phase two, where you complete your project, then followed by again evaluations. You pass, you get the remaining 55%, and then finally results. And once the results come, you can put GSOC on your resume, right? And then you're done. And then it's like upon you whether you want to wish to continue contributing to that open source organization, or you just want to forget them altogether, right? Like ideally, Google wishes you don't forget them, but then it's totally upon you. You can forget them and tell them bye and get to your work, right? So that is the Google Summer of Code flow. So the first step is selecting organizations, right? So before you want something from the world, you should know what you want from yourself, right? Before you're demanding something from the universe, you should know what you want before that, right? So when organizations got announced, this was my criteria on the left. So I wanted some work related to web and JavaScript because I wanted to get better at that. Then I wanted an organization that awarded multiple projects consistently, right? It shouldn't be like last year the org was awarding just one project, then next year they didn't get selected. The year after that they awarded 10 projects. So I wanted an org which was giving around 10 to 12 projects every year. So that increases your chance manifold, right? Then the third is that organization should get selected every year at GSOC. So if you go to summerofcode.withgoogle.com/organization, you'll see all the organizations year wise. So from 2005, I think, to 2021, you will see what organizations got selected every year, right? So you should select an org that is getting selected every year, because it might be that you started work in December, but in February the org didn't get selected, so your 2 months got wasted, right? Then the fourth is that the repository remains active on GitHub. This means like some organizations only become active during GSOC, but the other 9 months out of the year they don't do anything, right? So I didn't want that. I wanted the organization to remain active on the repo all year round. So why was that? Because if the org is active all year round, I get a good support, and they do things according to a plan, right? It's not haphazard कि चलो GSOC निकालना है इसलिए कर रहे हैं. It's like you do it according to a plan, right? So that was my fourth criteria. And fifth criteria was a bigger org. I want a bigger org because they have good swags, to be honest. That was one criteria for me. I want good swags. And the second is they have a lot of projects. So based on these 5 criteria, I selected these 3 orgs on the right. So it is Circuitverse for the first one. So for those of you who are from electronics, what they do is like they have an internet portal where you can build digital circuits. So you might have done it with a breadboard. It's called a breadboard, and you put in ICs within it. So that they do it electronically. Basically on the internet, you can drag and drop and do that. And the second is Cloud CV. So for Cloud CV, that is like you have machine learning models. So instead of directly coding machine learning models, you plan your machine learning models. You do a drag and drop onto the interface, and basically it helps you in researching better machine learning algorithms. And the third is Rocket Chat. So if you've used Slack or Discord before, so Rocket Chat is the open source version for that. So it's basically you have the code open, you can host your own Discord on your local machine, right? And a point that comes to mind is Rocket Chat is used, since Rocket Chat is so secure and can be hosted by anyone, so it's used by both the US defense and the ISIS as well. So they don't tell this to a lot of people, but even US defense and ISIS both use it. Both use Rocket Chat. So that is because it's quite secure and can be hosted locally, right? So next thing is the next step that should be is contribution and communication. So these are the 2 C's that are the most important factors to get you in. So if you start contributing early and you communicate with the members of the organization, so they beforehand know that you are a eligible GSOC, like you are a capable GSOC student, and in at the back of their mind they know, like when you send in a proposal, at the back of their mind they know that this guy has been contributing and communicating with us for a long time, and they'll give you an edge over others who have just come a week before you, right? So here are my contributions, what I did to Rocket Chat. So the first is open source contribution leaderboard. So what this is basically, like Rocket Chat starts like students start coming to Rocket Chat around December. So what Rocket Chat does is like how much people have contributed before getting into GSOC. So you can see there is a column with username, open PRs, merged PRs, and issues. So they maintain like a list of this, and you can see the top guy has contributed around 23 plus 38. That is around 61 PRs he did in those 2-3 months. Like people get crazy when this goes out. So they contribute like a lot, and the top 10 contributors get a chance to do a one-on-one with the CEO of Rocket Chat, Gabriel Engel. So I'm on number 5 over here, Ronlek. I also did get a chance, and you get to learn a lot. You can check out this portal. It's live on the internet, gsoc.rocket.chat, and almost like I think, yeah, every one of these is a GSOC student. Like everyone you can see in the screenshot is a GSOC student except one. So even he got a sponsored project. So that is how it works, right? So the next thing I did for contributing is Rocket Chat for community. So this is something we worked like really hard before GSOC. For 3 months, I worked on this project, and I don't say this to scare you, but I worked from 9 in the morning to 1 in the night. So what this is basically is like it's a Gitter using Rocket Chat, right? So if you've used Gitter, what it does is like basically if you have a GitHub repository, so it will link to your GitHub repository and you can chat over it. So on the right you can see there is the activity. So if I do a pull request or if I open an issue, it will directly come over here in the activity tab, right? And in the middle you can chat over your repo. So there are basically channels corresponding to each repo, and in the left you can talk to people, or you have your repositories. So if you can see under on, like it says alive, video player, hello world. So these are my GitHub repositories. So this took a lot of effort, and we used Rocket Chat's chat engine to build this, and whatever you see in the screen, like we've built it from scratch. So this took a lot of effort, and this was a major contribution I made. Then I started exploring Rocket Chat apps. So I built Meme Buddy. So if you can see the GIF playing, so what you do is basically you enter a /meme into the Rocket Chat, and then you get this stuff like this, right? So you get options like you want to have a programmer meme, dank meme, or wholesome meme. You click programmer, and then you get a meme directly within Rocket Chat, right? And these memes are being fetched from Reddit. So so that is one cool thing I made. So if you've used Discord, there is a bot they have called Dank Memer. So it is installed on 5 million Discord servers. So this is what I thought for Rocket Chat, and it has around I think 150 plus users currently. I just built it out of as like a hobby project. So this is one cool thing I liked, which I built before my GSOC. These were the 3 things. So the third step after you're done with contributions, the third and the most important step is project proposal. So what project proposal entails is like you give a structured proposal of what you are going to do, right? So what happens in GSOC is like in most of the cases, you have your project figured out way before you start coding as well, right? So before I entered GSOC, I knew how to do the project, right? You have to put in the research to get there. So on the left, you can see I've also put in a detailed work plan, like week 1, week 2. So currently we are in, I think, week 8, right? July 26 to August 1. So currently we are in week 8. So this is the kind of proposal that you put in. So I submitted 2 proposals. One is for a poll app. So what that basically is, if you use Slack, there's Poly, or Twitter if you use. So people can just put polls and users can vote on those polls. Right, so that is a poll app for Rocket Chat. One was that proposal, and the second, which we talked about, Rocket Chat for community, like the Gitter project. So that was the second proposal I put in. So for the poll app, the length was around 31 pages, and it took me about 2 weeks to write. And RC4 community, I kind of knew I'll get selected. So because I like spent 3 months over it, so I kept the proposal short. I kept it around 18 pages only. So that was the project proposal part. And yeah, of course, like when you do a project proposal, a lot of people just write stuff. What I'll do this, I'll do that, but it is really important to show the stuff as well. So for some of you who are familiar with Figma, I've built these designs in Figma as well. So you can see these are designs for the Pole app. So one important point you could take out of this is like, in addition to putting deliverables, you should also put in extra deliverables. So that kind of shows the organization that you are willing to go beyond what others are doing, right? So these are the designs as well. So I attached this link in my proposal as well. So this is the project proposal part. So these are the 3 steps which you did, right? So these are the 3 steps. So we selected an org, then we did contributions and we did communications, and third we did the proposal finally, right? So if you do all these 3 things together, and if you are diligent, like you are diligent about all these 3 things, then congratulations, you'll get accepted, right? So you'll get into a cohort of like 10,000 GSOC alumni and 1,200 people who've been there, in through the world who got selected. So on the right, you can see, even though I was confident about getting into RC4 community, like the GitHub project, I got into the Pole project because I don't know, maybe they liked my proposal. I worked really hard on the proposal, around 31 pages. So I got selected into the Pole app project, right? So this is my acceptance mail from GSOC on the right, right? So that is how it rewards you. And in addition to that, so currently I'm building a platform, right? I've gone through GSOC. I've seen how hard it is, right? So I'm building like an invite-only platform to help connect people who want to get into GSOC and people who like building things. They are really great developers. So this I'm building an invite-only platform, and it's going to be really lit. So if you check out, so it's like if you just sign up to this link, like bit.ly/gsoc-platform, so you will be one of the first people to get an invite when this comes out, right? So this is for, if in case you are interested, in getting ahead of your classmates, in case you are interested in leveling up your skills, getting offers, and getting into GSOC in an easier way, rather than just mugging up and just going the old way, just rubbing your heels. So if you're not interested in that, if you're interested in going in a smoother way and learning from the best developers, not only from India, around the world, so I highly recommend you just fill it up. It's just like a 3-step form: name, email, and number, and you'll be like the first for people to get an invite when this goes out. So this will be out soon, and it has got a lot of invitations already, right? So recommended to fill that out: bit.ly/gsoc-platform. So so as a final thought, I'd like to, like, this is the penultimate slide. As a final thought, I'd like to leave you with. So you see those stars in the door on the image. So those are the stars those stars are the opportunities which you get after GSOC, right? And GSOC is only a door. So once you are through that door, there are a hell lot of opportunities, multitude of opportunities. So the only thing that you need to get through that door is persistence and courage, right? The door is always open. So I'll see you on the other side of the door. Yeah, thanks. And you can feel free, if you have questions, or you can ask here, or you can feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn and Twitter. I go by the name of Rohan Lekhwani. Or if you're interested in checking out GitHub profile or resume, you can check out GitHub Ronlek or ronlek.github.io. And if you're interested in yourself leveling up, you can fill that link on the top right: bit.ly/gsoc-platform. Yeah, thanks. Thanks a lot.
Rohan, can you share this with us?
Yeah, I'll share the PPT and the link both with you after we're done. Cool. Any questions? I'm open to. You can ask anything.
I had a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so regarding the preparation before GSOC, So, do you only contribute like let's say for the month when the organizations have already been declared? Do you then start preparing for a single proposal and a single organization, or for multiple organizations and proposals?
No, like I said, first you should have a criteria, right? You should select an organization which is getting selected every year. So you are not at a risk, because if the organization doesn't get selected, your hard work is in vain, right? So you should select at least three organizations, and then once you're done with that, you should reach out to organize people in the organization. Then you filter out one organization out of the three, right? Because each organization will have around 10 to 12 projects. So you can't do 12 into 336 for three organizations, right? You should only focus on one organization, what which you like out of the three, and then select one or two projects at max out of them.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other question? Any other doubt related to GSOC, open source, how to get started? Even if it's basic, you don't have a GitHub account, that's okay.
And Rohan, like you said, the organization are declared in the month of like March or Feb. And like you said, like you also said that students begin the preparation right from October or November. So like, what do I do so early? Like what and how do I do so early?
Right. So that's a good question. So there are projects which organizations have, right? So one of my criteria, if you remember, was aim for organizations that do contribute to projects all year round instead of during that one phase. So you should start contributing to those projects early on. So for RocketChat, they have this main repo, and out of that they build GSOC projects. So if you start in October, contributing to those projects in October itself, you have an edge over around 200 people. So 200 people applied to RocketChat only, and around 50,000 people applied to GSOC this year. So out of that, only 1,200 got selected, and in RocketChat, out of 200, only 12 got selected. Right, so that is about 10%. So you get ahead of those 90% when you start early, or you start contributing, you start talking to people within the org. So you get ahead of that 90%.
And as a beginner, like how do I begin to contribute in the open source? I have no
Yeah,
idea.
yeah. So you should have a GitHub account. Then you should take a look at the organizations that have been selected for the previous years. So now it is 21. So if you go to summerofcode.withgoogle.com/organizations, I can even share the URL with you.
Yeah, I'm on that URL already.
Yeah, I'll be sharing the PPT altogether.
Yeah.
I'll share it with Akriti. Maybe she can forward it to you guys. So this is the URL. You can check out the organizations over here for this year. So for even the past 4 5 years, whichever organizations are getting selected, they have a thing called IRC, Internet Relay Chat. So when you click on it, you will find all the developers within that organization over there. You just put a hi, I'm new. That's it. It's that simple. You just put a hi, I'm new, and someone will reach out to you.
All right.
It is that simple. Like they'll show you around the repository. They'll tell you how to contribute. Like they'll guide you for free basically. They'll teach you.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I got it.
Like, if I'm a beginner, so what are the skills that I should start practicing so that I can start contributing in the organizations? Like, what are the main skills that I can focus on?
So the basic main skill is just logic. If you have coded in any of the languages, like even basic one, C, C++, that is fine, because there are organizations which have C, C++ as well. So that is fine. And even for me, there are 4 to 5 tech stacks which an organization lists. Even if you know 2 to 3 stacks out of the 5, you don't need to know everything. Even if they know you are a student, so that's fine, totally fine. So even if you know 2 to 3 out of them, you can just reach out to them, tell them I don't know this, but I'm willing to learn, and they'll throw that opportunity to you. Like they'll sit with you, they'll come on a call with you and explain to you everything.
Huh?
And one more,
Yeah, Kriti, go ahead.
like, as you said, like, you have to create a proposal. So, what that proposal should contain?
Right. So that proposal
I heard
contains
it's a long proposal.
no, it's not a long process. It will take, if you write around 31 pages. You have to do good research on the project before it. So if you write 31 pages, so that is more than average what people do. That is like, I think my proposal was the longest among all the people who submitted. So you don't have to write 31 pages. Some of the people just write 6 pages and get accepted, right? But I didn't want to take a chance. I wrote 31 pages, whatever you want, like research on the project, right? So in my case, I was building a poll app, right? So I wrote a week by week thing of what I will do in this week, and I like knew how to code those features. I researched how to code those features even before I began. So I wrote entire thing like I'll code this line there. I referred files like I'll go to this file and then code this. So you don't need to be that specific, but you can. If you do, then like it's a 200% guarantee, just to be 200% sure. But even if you are 100%, you can get it, right? So you have just abstract title, then you would give your implementation details and what you do week by week, right? Week 1, week 2, week 3, and then you give a conclusion and how you plan to spread open source. That's it. So it
That's
might,
like
it
really
might,
helpful.
yeah, it might seem like overwhelming at first, but it is not. Like when you start doing it, it is not. It is like really simple. Even first year people do it. So people who have just entered college, like around 3 4 months, they are into college and they get selected into GSOC, right? All you need is just proper planning, and you should persist. At first, the code base might feel like really huge, like around 30 40,000 lines of code. But you should know that out of those 40,000 lines, you don't have to read those 40,000 lines. You are just there to contribute some 100 200 lines. You don't need to do 40,000 lines. You just, if you understand 100 200 lines, you are in. That's it.
Yeah, like
That
even I was trying to participate this year, but after seeing the organization and like people when they were speaking in the community, they felt like I was like completely outclassed at that point, and that's why like that completely demotivated me, and I didn't even like try to write the proposal after that point. I started like diligently then contributing to like open source codes, especially, and like trying to first start with those like code bases which are currently like in their like early years, because in an like already established developed like code base, it's really difficult to go through like the entire documentation even to understand and then like build upon those ideas that have already been established for such a long period is like quite difficult. So I like started with some basic like good first PRs from GitHub on like code bases that were like smaller, and on code bases like I had a particular kind of interested in, like especially like three of my projects are related to Minecraft. Like like to play Minecraft a lot, and so using that as a GUI interface. So how can you use like if you are let's say an architect, then how can you display your ideas through code easily by just implementing a code? You can just build an entire building, let's say, and you can
Yeah,
specify
yeah.
some kind of parameters. So that is the kind of project that I usually like to build. So I started with those kinds of projects, but when I like tried to move on to any kind of project that was appearing like in for GSOC for those organizations, I always found out that even the good first PRs were something that I couldn't like comprehend. So how would you suggest that I should go about doing those, like
Yeah,
contribute?
so that's a good point you mentioned. Like a lot of people don't know how to start. So if you go to a repository, there are issues that are marked good first PR. Like Sanket said, like good first issue, help wanted, beginner issue. So those are the things that you should aim first. Like if you go to a repo, you check out their issues, and from there you try to solve that. So even if there you think that the good first issue is not good first for you, what you do is like you create an issue. Like for in my case, what we did is like suppose there is a typo, right? If I remember, yeah, there was a typo in documentation spelling, right? It was DOC, they missed a U, MENTATI1, right? So I went ahead and created an issue for that, and that was the kind of first PR I made, right? Correcting documentation spelling. So you no one can correct you upon that, right? Documentation is supposed to spell DOCU, right? No one can point out like you've made a code mistake over there or anything. You get an easy PR basically. So even if good first issues are too high for you, just create an issue. Just find some bug. Like people were even changing colors of button. yeah, blue is not looking good. Let's make it red. So even as simple as that, people were trying to get in.
Yeah, like even some people suggested to me that even going through the documentation, if you find the errors, that is a good place to start, because while reading through the documentation, you will get to know what kind of the project like is working you that you are going to be working with. And that is also a good place. Like even finding out errors, don't just find the errors, you will also go through the documentation in the process. And that is very helpful when you are trying to start up with any kind of new organization or a new code base as well.
Yeah, exactly. So even if for Rocket Chat, you see like they maintain a leaderboard, which I showed just now, like gsoc.rocket.chat. So they have a leaderboard, so people know like if I rank in the top 10, I'm a sure shot GSOC selected, right? So what they try to do is like they try to fix these documentation errors. They fix those colors, like even like these kinds of simple PRs they fix. So in the start, even the maintainers are smart, right? They know like they are doing this just to get selected into GSOC, right? So what they do is like in the start they'll accept, just to give an incentive to these students. Yeah, keep contributing, you're getting it, and then they'll stop looking at your PRs altogether. They'll say like you've been with us for 1 month. We won't accept a color fix of a button from you now. Now you need to do something higher, and they'll obviously be there to help you. So yeah, that's a good way to get started, but not to persist. Great. Any other questions, doubts, or experiences if you would have applied? Cool. Okay. I'll share the PPT with you, and you can sign up on that link, bit.ly/gsoc-platform. It is totally for these kinds of problems itself, and you'll get to interact with cool developers. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank
like I
you.
really
And
found.
also, yes, indeed.
Yeah, like really would like to comment on like creating a platform where people can come and interact with each other, because that is kind of a platform where people who are new to that particular kind of experience in open source, they might be able to learn from people who are experienced, like with years of practice behind them. And that is something that is really required right now, especially with open source at all times, because we are always like even GSOC was established for this particular reason, to check for or get more people interested into open source, more diligent people who will preserve, like not just for the duration of the internship or the duration of GSOC, but even after and before that period, to get those kinds of people into GSOC, right? So seeing that you have also started like a platform where people can interact, not even just before and after, but also how to get into GSOC, since like there is some kind of incentive as well. Like that is a really good way to like get you motivated to start your first journey into open source.
Exactly right. So that is the main motive. Like it's like a bridge between people who are in GSOC and people who want to get GSOC. So both interact and everyone benefits. So
Yeah.
that is the